drive back and forth. This guy was a collegiate swimmer. All that muscle you see up there had gone down here. He had a little spare tire, and he had a little what he would call pencil arms. Just didn't have the time anymore. So he drove up from Houston with his sons, met me. In 2 months, moved all that weight up top, put 2 inches on his biceps, completely changed his game, doing it 15 to 20 minutes from home. This is my fiance. She's a 8 to 10 hour a week yoga person, but as we get older, one of the problems is our nighttime release and our morning release of growth hormone slows down. So it gets harder to maintain muscle. And we start putting on a little bit more, weight, and we just can't beat it. She had become very frustrated because she's doing all this exercise, yet she can't get lean. She started doing these bands twice a week. She would come in and she'd do a 20-minute workout on her upper and lower body. Didn't change her yoga, lost 9 pounds in 30 days, and her strength skyrocketed. Why? We got her growth hormone during the day surging. These people are what I would call stuck. They're in that period of life where they're in their 60s and 70s. They're not going to the gym. They're not hiring a trainer. They're not getting on the keto. And they just don't want to do resistance exercises anymore, but they like to take a walk. Kathy and Ronnie came over and said, hey, we want to walk. I said, great. I sent them around the block with the bands on. They came back and said, man, we feel like we just walked 5 miles, and they had only walked a quarter of a mile. So we simply implemented them walking 10 to 15 minutes a day with the bands on, significantly increased the fatigue they're getting in their body, and increased growth hormone. They lost 40 pounds together, and their energy skyrocketed. This guy's 75 years old. He goes to the gym in Tyler, Texas, and the trainer screams in his ears and pushes him to do more, and he goes home and he ices any ibuprofens, and he can't go back for 2 more days. The typical high-intensity weight training exercise that requires a lot of recovery. He simply switched over to the blood flow restriction band, started doing 20-minute workouts from home, and amazingly, at the age of 75, he put 1 inch on his arms, 2 inches on his thighs, lost 2 inches off his waist, feels 25 years younger, and he will tell you, I haven't had a painful day or a sore day ever since I started using these bands, because you're doing light weight. The key here is he got growth hormone surging through his body even at 75 years old. How about our elite athlete crowd? This guy's a national pickleball champion. He's in his 50s. He's a world champion. He's already an elite level of fitness. He came down to my center in Dallas and said, hey, I need an edge. All these young guys are starting to catch me, and I'm doing these hour to hour and 20-minute workouts. Started by putting the bands on him, put him on the elliptical machine to warm him up. I said, hey, how long do you typically go? He said, well, I guess I could go a couple hours, but let's do 45 minutes. I said, I'll be back in 6 minutes. Came back in 6 minutes, and he's like, I'm done. I can't go anymore. Everything we did in that workout for him on his lower body, none of it involved weights. We did all air squats, all air lunges, and some side shuffles. He was absolutely trashed. Next day, he could barely walk. He fatigued his muscles so hard. So he got the bands. Within a month, he came back, put him through an even harder workout, and what's very interesting is about after a week to 2 weeks of using these bands, you quit getting sore. And I put him through an incredible workout. I mean, jump squats, jump lunges, kick lunges, everything is with explosion and pace for his on-court performance. And I mean, he literally crawled out of there. Next day, I called him and said, how you feeling? He said, man, doesn't even feel like I worked out. I'm not even sore. And you're going to see his endurance, his VO2 max went absolutely through the roof. So now he's able to play 10, 12 games without having any reduction in fatigue, or any fatigue. And his fitness went absolutely through the roof. Here's my son. He's from Dayton, Ohio. He's a very good football player, 16, 17-year-old kid. Did not have elite level speed. Prior to him going on the camps with Craig's son, Mason, his speed trainer did the exact same protocol, just like you do the protocols here for the gymnast. All we did was add the bands. So as he's going through his 5 or 6 stations, instead of getting fatigued at 5, 6, 7 minutes in a station, in 2 to 3 minutes, his legs are dying on him. And you'll see why with the bands. He went from running 19 miles per hour to 21.5. And from being a pretty quick kid, that's a 4.35 40. If you guys know anything about 40 times, that's cooking at Ohio State. And very fortunate for him, that got him some college scholarship offers. That one session of BFR I did from him took him to a great athlete to a D1 athlete in 6 weeks. Now he's on a 4 or 5 year ride because he redshirted playing football over in Bowling Green. So we can take these young athletes and push them through plateaus in shorter time. This is a volleyball player. She plays out at Park City, Utah. She's part of Club V Volleyball at Utah Athletic Center. She put the bands on. And here's what this girl does for jumps. They have her do box jumps. They have her do the side jumps. They have her do block jumps, 3-step spike jumps, everything you'd have a volleyball player do. But think about when she does that, she'll get a little tired, she'll get a little sweat going. But it's not like she just got done bench pressing and she can barely move her arms because she's in her motion of sport. We put the bands on her, and the first time she did block jumps, she did about 15, didn't even get to 20, and she can't even get air underneath her legs. She's so tired. And she fails, her muscles fully fatigue in this action of jumping. And in 6 weeks, she put 6 inches on her vertical jump. Those are the kind of changes you will see in these young athletes, especially here. When you put them in the motion that they typically do in their sport, and you add the bands, because their muscles safely fatigue further. Speaking of that, here's a 14-year-old baseball player down in Houston, Texas. He goes in the batting cage and he wants to hit the ball further, so we put the bands on him. And as he's swinging, you know, a typical kid, he'll hit about 30 or 40 balls and they'll just say, next kid in. You know, and he'll have a little sweat going, but his muscles won't fatigue to the point in the action of hitting that he will adapt, because it's not fatiguing enough on all this core muscle and these hip muscles and these shoulder muscles when you're hitting. To get that fatigue, we got to put this kid in the weight room and hit him with weights. Now, the first time he put the bands on, he hit about 20 balls and he couldn't even pick up the bat. And then he went and ran about 15 or 20 sprints and he threw a little bit. Next day, he was so sore he couldn't even work out. Literally within 2 weeks, he took a half a second off the 60-meter time, hitting the ball 30 to 40 feet further. How's that happen? We put him in his sport-specific movements, put these bands on him, and as you'll learn, we're able to safely fatigue him at a different level, getting growth hormone surging, and he rapidly adapts. This guy's a 2-time world martial arts champion, young guy out of Dayton, Ohio. He's friends with Craig's son, Mason. He spars with these on. Why would you do that? Because now, instead of him just sparring and getting a good workout, he spars, and his muscles start to fatigue in the motion of hitting, the motion of jumping, the motion of spin kicking and kicking. And then he gets stronger and more explosive in those things. So we take this guy who has a certain level of fitness in his sport-specific movements, and we just blow it through the roof. So not only does he lift weights with the bands, he trains and spars with them. This guy's an MLS soccer player. If you ever have any type of injury in your athletes or you yourself, blood flow resistance bands will cut the healing time down in half. I'll give you a perfect example. My first hip replacement took me 12 weeks at standard protocol. This was about 2.5 years ago when I started using bands. Second hip replacement, 2 hours after I woke up, I'm sitting on the end of the bed doing curls. You can watch my video online. Why am I doing that? Because when you have injury or surgery, cortisol goes through the roof because your body's in stress, and growth hormone and anabolic muscle building hormones goes down. It's a pain response, and your body deconditions and atrophies. But if you'll get this robust exercise on the non-injured body parts, for example, let's say an athlete pulls a hamstring. Next day, we want them doing upper body exercises. It gets growth hormone surging in their body, which dramatically speeds up healing. And that's what happened to me. 3 days after I got home, he's got me starting to do, the exercise band like this. I put the band on right here and I do these exercises. And instead of it just being mildly stimulating, my muscles are fatiguing in this early rehab. And I felt an incredible pump in my leg, and I'm at day 3, and I start walking, and I literally let go of this at 3 days and start walking right down the hall. It's amazing. Now, I got about 20 or 30 feet, and I was like, okay. It started stopping me. But it was just amazing. I was able to pump up these muscles around this injury safely, which the only other way I could do that is with heavy weight, and we can't load injuries and post-surgical patients up with heavy weights. Bottom line is I was running up and down the steps at 5 weeks as compared to 12 weeks. And that's what we're seeing in all these athletes. This guy's an MLS soccer player. First ACL took him 8 or 9 months to get back on the turf. second ACL, he was ready at 3.5 months, and they wouldn't let him back out. They made him wait till a little bit over 4 months. And there's all kinds of studies coming out now, case studies on these athletes, especially Olympic athletes that have been using this, that are recovering in half the time. So whether it's just a sprained ankle on an athlete or it's post-surgical, we can dramatically affect recovery times in all types of populations. When we talk about kids, this brings up a very important point. We can't load weights on kids. We can't have these kids doing squats and cleans and heavy bench presses because of the growth plates. But now we can have these kids drop down and do push-ups and do air squats, and they'll get the benefits in the muscles as if they're lifting heavy weights, but we won't do any damage on their bodies. So this is also a big breakthrough in our younger population. So here's our current belief. This is how we've all been training all of our life. And it doesn't matter if you're an athlete or if you're just somebody who tries to stay in shape. We've been taught to lift weights. Lifting weights is load-based training, or run sprints, or do speed training, or do sport-specific training. And all this training we've been doing in our life is one of two types. It's either load-based training, which means you're going to try and lift weights, enough heavy weight, to what you would think is called micro-tearing muscle. It's actually a different mechanism, which is important, but you're overloading muscle with heavy weights to try and get the muscle to fatigue and then build back faster. Or you're doing volume training, sprints, 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes of a medium intensity exercise. And as we understand, it leads to micro-tearing. We're sore the next day, and then there's a recovery period needed. But here's where all the secret lies in this 30%. Look at this chart over here on the left side. When I'm sitting here doing arm curls, my resting SMO2 or oxygen level starts at 70%. And if I'm going to maximum failure, I don't care what kind of athlete I am, whether I'm going into the CrossFit class or it's the gymnast here, or I'm going for a brisk bike ride, you can not get below 30% oxygen level. One of the reasons why is because the blood's constantly replenishing the oxygen. And this is the typical level that athletes get to. So let's call this a one-alarm signal. This is a one-alarm signal going up to the brain, and the brain is sensing a metabolic crisis. And then the brain kicks in a hormonal response, which turns into IGF-1, and then you adapt. Now, when we put these bands on, when I put these bands on and I start to do exercise, all I'm doing here is slowing down blood flow out of the arm. I'm not cutting it off in either direction. I could pump this all the way up to 500, and I've still got a pulse. Now, you might see how my arm's a little bit of beefy red here. The only reason it's beefy red is because there's a little backup of deoxygenated blood, but my pulse is still pumping away. Now, if I had cut off venous outflow out and my blood's flowing in, my hand would be a big balloon, wouldn't it? That's not what's happening. I'm just slowing down the deoxygenated blood. So as I sit here and work out, the muscle's going to quickly run out of oxygen. And then it's going to switch over to the secondary energy source of lactate, which turns into lactic acid, which a lot of people say, oh yeah, I'm sore, I've got lactic acid. This is the body's natural process. But I'm going to do dramatically less work to get to that point, number one. And number two, I'm going to get to a much lower oxygen level doing light weight. Most athletes who do this exercise have been working out in this range right here. If you do a demonstration in here, you'll actually get your muscle oxygen down safely, down here around 15, 10, or 20%. Many of you, this will be your first time in your life you've ever been down in that area. And this sends a signal to the brain, okay? Instead of a 1-alarm signal, it sends up a 5-alarm signal. That, hey, we've got a lot of exercise going down here. We've got a metabolic crisis in the muscle, and then the body responds. It responds with a nerve signal to the brain. The brain kicks in heart rate, breathing, and sweating. That's why Scott was saying, man, I never used to sweat when I lifted heavy weights. Now I do like these 10 or 15-minute light exercise sessions, and I'm sweating. And that's because of this metabolic crisis that the body's sensing. It thinks you're doing more work than you are. And it kicks in all these normal processes. But more importantly, it kicks in a very substantial release of growth hormone. And here's one of the studies. Normal exercise without BFR bands, 0.32 mgs per ml. Exercise with BFR bands, 25 times greater release of growth hormone. Your young athletes running around here, people sitting there, most of you have never experienced a growth hormone release like this, let alone being able to now get it every day with exercise. I mean, this is a huge game changer for what you can do with your body. Now, you might ask, well, okay, I'm 70 or 80 years old. How am I going to get that? Your anterior pituitary gland has the same amount of growth hormone production as when you're 18. It just doesn't release as much in your normal nighttime and morning release. But with this exercise, you can get the same amount of growth hormone release at 80 years old that you can get at 18. The problem for an 80-year-old without these bands on is they can't do super high-intensity exercise. Now with light exercise, anybody can get this growth hormone release. Let me share with you a couple studies. This is a study out of Japan showing that light weights plus elastic blood flow restrictions training equals heavy weights and improving strength. Over the last 5 to 6 years with the Olympic team and Dr. Jim Stray-Gunderson, they've gone from about using BFR 20% of the time, they're up to now where 80% of the time they're using BFR. They're starting to wonder why they should even lift heavy weights anymore, because they can get the exact same benefits with light weights. So anybody that we want to increase strength, like this young man over there, who's got a pacemaker, we can put these bands around his legs. We can just have him push himself up and down out of his chair, and he will get a big increase in strength just doing light exercise. My 80-year-old mom, she gets on the exercise bike. Obviously, my son is a football player. He's doing the same protocol you would do for a football player. So now we can get the same benefits of heavy weights using light weights and elastic BFR. Here's another study out of Japan that there's a meaningful increase in strength and size after 5 sessions. People that do this type of exercise will tell you, literally within 1 or 2 weeks, their muscles are growing. They've got more muscle. Stephanie, how long was that when you told me, was that what, 2 or 3 weeks?
A little over 2 weeks. Not much time at all. It was
2 weeks,
a shocker this morning.
Her body fat went down 1 to 2 pounds and her muscle went up 1 to 2 pounds, literally in 2 weeks. And this kind of change that we see with this type of exercise where fat goes down, muscle goes up, that can only happen with big growth hormone surges. Typically with dieting and exercise, when you hypocalorie, what happens? You lose body fat and the muscle goes down too. And then you start eating again, and here comes the muscle, and here comes the fat, and you're left over with a net drop in muscle and no change in fat. And then you do it again, and you do it again, and pretty soon you have a body that's too high in body fat, and you just don't have enough muscle mass. This does the exact opposite. It burns fat because of the growth hormone and puts muscle on your body with light exercise. This is a very exciting one for all different types of people from all different age groups, especially our athletes. It's called mitochondrial adaptation. If you remember your biology class, the mitochondria are responsible for respiration. They take oxygen from the blood and they convert the fuel in your muscle, glucose or ATP, and then secondary source lactate. They convert that to energy. So for me to do this right here, that mitochondria is using oxygen and glucose to make that muscle move. When we start slowing down the blood flow in there and we reduce the oxygen, the mitochondria now have to work more efficiently. It's called mitochondrial adaptation. This is similar to altitude training. They make these Olympic athletes go out and altitude train because they're trying to improve their VO2 max, or how much oxygen they're using to get output of energy. This lightweight, simple exercise, even him just getting up and down out of the chair, will cause his mitochondria to rapidly multiply and rapidly adapt. What's that going to mean? It means he's going to have more energy, more stamina, more endurance, more performance. I'll quote you a study. They did a study on 2 groups of people doing knee extension exercises. First group, 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps of typical medium to heavy weight. Second set, light. Second set of group of people, light weights, 3 sets, 30 repetitions. Both groups had the same increase in strength, same increase in size. No change in VO2 max on this group, which makes sense, it's not doing any cardio work. This leg, 28% increase in VO2 max. Endurance went through the roof. This is like sitting here and doing resistance exercises and being on the treadmill at the same time. You're getting this endurance benefit by simply doing lightweight BFR exercise. How would this apply like to your gymnasts? Well, your gymnasts, this is very important, stamina, endurance, because as they start to get tired, they lose technique. They can't jump as high. They can't perform as good. By simply implementing their strength training with BFR versus heavy weights, their energy and stamina and endurance is going to increase, and you're going to see these athletes be able to maintain amplitude, altitude, and technique and last a lot longer, especially if they're in a long weekend meet. So this is very important. For these young people over here, they'd be able to walk further. They'd have more energy during the day. So this mitochondrial adaptation is very exciting. Also, several studies on that. Here's another exciting study. Bone density increases with blood flow resistance training. This controlled group is looking at bone-specific alkaline phosphatase, which is a secondary byproduct of growth hormone release. You get growth hormone, then you get IGF-1, and you get bone-specific alkaline phosphatase, which makes our bones stronger versus them getting weaker. The control group, 0.3, the blood flow resistance training group, 10.8. That's a 34 times increase in bone alkaline phosphatase by simply putting these bands on. What does that mean? That means your young athletes' bones are going to be stronger. That means at our age, our bones are going to be stronger. And our senior population, it means we have a potential solution for osteoporosis. Now Dr. Stray Gunderson out in Park City, Utah, has studied 3 people, 30, 90, and 180 days. They're all seniors, 65 to 75, that are all either osteoporosis or osteopenia, and he's done DEXA scans on them, measuring their bone density. These people had all been going down like this, and the next 2 tests they did, both times their bone density went up. Their bones are literally getting stronger and more dense doing blood flow resistance training. I don't know, I might ask this doc here, I don't know of anything in the literature that can reverse osteoporosis. So these studies that they've done have postulated that we potentially have a solution for osteoporosis, and I know pretty soon they've talked about they're going to start running some of these studies. But wouldn't that be a great benefit if, in addition to us doing this exercise for endurance and performance, our bones got stronger? So that's also very exciting. And the last one, cardiovascular benefits. When you do normal exercise, you get release of 2 substances, vascular endothelial growth factor and nitric oxide. I'll focus on nitric oxide because most of you will know what it is. Anybody ever taken a pre-workout product or a beet shot? Then it warms you up, it makes you vasodilate, or you take one of those crazy pre-workouts that jacks you up and amps you all up with caffeine and nitric oxide. They're doing that to vasodilate you with a chemical substance. You get release of these things naturally from exercise. The problem is you need to do high-intensity exercise. If you exercise hard enough, the endothelium lining of your arteries releases these 2 substances, specific nitric oxide, which immediately vasodilates blood vessels. So if he goes over there and we just get him doing some of these and he starts to feel a burn, he goes to a 3rd set, his arteries will literally open up. Nitric oxide causes those muscles to relax and blood starts flowing better. Second, it thins your blood. Nitric oxide prevents platelets from sticking together, which means we can head off atherosclerosis and possibly even improve it. Has anybody ever heard of L-arginine? Take L-arginine at night? The reason they say to take L-arginine is, 1, to boost growth hormone, but number 2, L-arginine creates what's called a nitric oxide puff. It causes your blood vessels to release a little nitric oxide. And they have people taking L-arginine to try and prevent or reverse atherosclerosis, but nothing compared to the amount that comes out 4 to 10-fold with doing blood flow restriction training. So this is a very big beneficial to our cardiovascular system. And this VEGF helps build more elastic blood vessels. So you were asking, he has a pacemaker. If he can exercise, the doctor says he can go out and exercise. This is exactly what he needs. His body needs high-intensity exercise results without doing the high intensity. Because if we were taking do high intensity, it would be very harmful to his body. Here we can have him walk, just do things like this, and he can start to get these wonderful chemicals and peptides rolling through his body, which can help make his cardiovascular system younger. And this is super beneficial, you know, for our athletic population. Here's a Parkinson's patient, Jeff Durbin. He has seen improvements in muscle mass, strength, balance, and his tremors go away. So he's working out. And Harold, who works him out, says by the end of this workout, his tremors are literally gone for the next 2 or 3 hours. So he can get total relief of his tremors for 2 to 3 hours. And they say that his tremors have improved by 30 to 50%. There's a study out there that shows that when you get IGF-1 circulating through the brain, it has a reverse effect on Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and dementia. And that's exactly what's happening here. We're able to take this guy who can just stand like this and do these exercises and get a good burn going in that muscle. If I showed you the other picture, he can stand there and do these. Get a growth hormone release IGF-1, which goes and produces all kinds of wonderful benefits. So even more different types of people out there we can help. And finally, BFR training is safe. They studied 12,000 people who have done BFR. It's safe for healthy people and can be applied to persons with various kinds of physical conditions, including cerebrovascular diseases like stroke patients, orthopedic diseases like rheumatoid, gout, and arthritis. We now have a lot of people who have arthritis, specifically gout people who are feeling better, rheumatoid arthritis people that are getting better, obesity, cardiac diseases like hypertension and atherosclerosis, neuromuscular diseases like I was just talking about, dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, diabetes. We have 2 kids over in Tyler, Texas who have juvenile diabetes. They are 10 and 8 years old. And Amber Voigt had bought the bands for these kids because I sent her a study on diabetes. And these kids were just going through the honeymoon period, which is basically when the pancreas shuts down for the final time and it's no longer producing any insulin, and the kids are 100% dependent. They started doing this BFR stuff, and their pancreas went back the other way and is now producing insulin. Now, we're certainly not going to cure diabetes, but this relationship between exercise, hormone, and all the body systems has these kids functioning better, and now they're taking less growth hormone. It absolutely astounded the doctor. So, just more amazing results out there. Even respiratory disease. We had a guy in Denver that had respiratory disease, pulmonary obstruction. What is it, COPD? What's COPD stand for? Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And we had him just doing light stuff. And I called and checked on him the next day. He said, man, I felt better the rest of the day. Why does it happen? Because here's a guy who can't do any exercise because he's got COPD. And we do this type of exercise on him. He gets these natural things released and he feels better. Now, we're not going to cure that COPD, but what a wonderful benefit that is for him. So if your doctor says you can exercise, you can do BFR training. So these benefits that we can get in our young athletes and us and our senior population, most people have never experienced this. And here's why. Most people can't do super high intensity exercise to get your body to do these things. But we all have the potential. Now, by simply doing these light exercises, all these wonderful things can happen. Healing and repair faster. Muscle toning and building. Craig said he lost 12 pounds and he can't figure out where he lost it from. You know, how old are you, Craig? 53. You know, he's an in-shape guy, but he switched from doing heavy weights over to these weights, and his body literally dropped 12 pounds of fat as it was putting on muscle. That's all growth hormone. So there's all kinds of incredible health benefits that come with this. My summary is this. Now that I understand this, I like, the way I look. I like getting the pump. But here's what really means something to me. This is anti-aging medicine for me. And people say, hey, Mike, how often do you work out? My response is only on the days I want growth hormone surging in my body, which is every day. So, I literally have 4-minute workouts I do to get this growth hormone. My longest workout's an 18-minute workout. So these bands are safe for everyone, easy to apply and portable, comfortable and effective. You can swim in these things, literally. Swim in them. They're waterproof, the only bands that are waterproof. Washable, 6-month warranty, and 14-day money-back guarantee. So the lifestyle that we preach is now do these short exercise sessions, these lightweight exercise sessions, and put the right nutrition in your body. Because if you now get good nutrition, you're going to get really good results. And I'll talk to you about two products that I encourage all of you to consider our Start meal product. The first product we call Start. This is the product you should start your day with. By the way, how many people drink coffee? How many coffee drinkers here? Oh boy. Okay, so if you are looking forward to having osteoporosis, then you should keep drinking your coffee. Okay? Because here's what coffee does. Coffee is acidic. Okay? If you put coffee in your body has to neutralize that pH. Okay? Like when you get an acid stomach, what do? You take a Tums or a Rolaids. Those are minerals. They simply go in and they balance out the pH. So every day you drink coffee, your body has to neutralize it, and it can do it, but where does it get the minerals from? Your blood. So it takes the minerals from your blood, and it neutralizes that, and on your way you go for your merry day, but now it has to replace the minerals in your blood. Where does it get that from? Your bones. So every day you drink coffee, you're slowly pulling a little bit of minerals out of your bones every day. And I've known this for many years because I always preached this when I was a doctor, but interesting story. Where is, let me find Judy Ann here. There she is. Right here, Judy Ann. She's a massage therapist out in Utah. And I remember meeting her out there, and I was telling her about the Start product. She's like, she's 105 pounds dripping wet. Oh, Mike, I can't have any of that sucrose in the morning. It has a little bit of sugar in it. I'm on the keto thing, and I do my bullet coffee. I said, how many coffees a day are you doing, Judy Ann? Oh, I do about 2 or 3, and then about 2 o'clock I start eating again. I said, Judy Ann, you're going to end up with osteoporosis. I'm just telling you. I don't believe that. So anyway, she had a ski accident. If you've been on her Facebook page, you've seen her leg that's been healing. She had a CAT scan and MRI, and they went up here and looked further. The doctor came in and said, I got good news and bad news. The good news is your leg's good. You're not getting compartment syndrome from all the apparatus we put in there, but you got osteoporosis. How many cups of coffee are you drinking? She said 3. He said, I don't want you ever drinking another cup of coffee as long as you live. You gave yourself osteoporosis. And that's what happens because it's acidic on your body. So one of the reasons we made this product is to help you get off of the coffee. So the reason this came along is I sat down with Dr. Stray Gunderson, the Olympic doc. I said, Doc, tell me, because he's really smart at this stuff, when you tell your athletes what to take, what do you have them take? And he said, I want them taking collagen to protect their joints. I want them off caffeine, but they all need their caffeine, so I want them to go ahead and get some normal coffee bean caffeine because there's many benefits to caffeine, essential fats, and we came up with this formula of all these different nutrients that you should take in the morning, and we call it Start. And it's just this little packet right here that has all of this nutrition in it. It tastes delicious. And what it's going to do is, first and foremost, is it's going to give you 2 patented sources of collagen. Now, how many people have taken collagen? Anybody in here taken collagen? Here's the problem with collagen. There's like 50 different peptides of collagen. And unless you're taking the specific collagens that are designed for your hair, skin, and nails and your joints, you really don't know what you're getting. In addition to that, I only found 2 companies that have collagens that have human studies. The company's called Gelita. They're out of Iowa. They make a product called Verisol, ladies. This, when you take 2.5 grams of Verisol, is proven to increase thickness of your skin and elasticity in your skin. Make your skin younger. And the second collagen is called Fortigel. When you get 4.5 grams of that, it increases articular cartilage thickness and the mobility in your joints. So these 2 sources of collagen are exactly what your body needs. Now, combine that with growth hormone, which is going to tell your body to get younger, and you've got anti-aging medicine along with some coffee bean caffeine, 3 sources of essential fats, fiber and aloe, gooseberry and grape skin, vitamins A, C, and E. This is the absolute best thing you can put in your body in the morning. You simply mix it. You can drink it straight, or you can take it with a fruit smoothie. Has anybody been taking the collagen product? Craig takes it. Yep. Have you started trying it? It's good, isn't it? Yep. Here's the second product that we made that's going to work great with this exercise. Meal. Let me ask you a question. How many people in here have tried whey protein or use a whey protein supplement? Anybody using whey protein? Okay, very good. So here's where whey protein comes from, okay? You get milk from cows. If you know anything about cows, we're really not designed to eat cow's milk, but we do, okay? And then from milk, they get cheese. They make cheese metabolism. And then there's a clear liquid that comes off of cheese metabolism, which is where they get whey from. It is the bottom of the barrel of the food chain. You absorb about 20% of it, okay? If you don't believe me, go type in the dangers of whey protein. I don't care what they call it. Isolate, triple filtered, it's whey, okay? And it has a net nitrogen score of 20 on 100. That means 80 of it is very toxic. When my son takes whey, he immediately breaks out with acne. Ladies, type in whey protein and menstrual cycles one time into Google and you'll go. Because it messes with your female hormones, okay? And it makes our bones weaker. Go read about whey protein, okay? As compared to soy protein, which is about 40 to 50% utilization, okay? Then you get your lean meats, eggs, fish, chickens, is up in the 60 to 70%. The highest protein on the food scale is plant-based protein. You absorb 80% of it. So I don't know about you, but if I'm going to work out and bust my butt, I want a protein that I'm going to get 80% utilization out of that, not 20%. I can tell you, whenever I take whey, it's not pretty. I mean, I get a little bar with whey in it, and I absolutely blow up. My body just absolutely rejects whey protein. So we start with plant-based protein. By the way, 15 grams of plant-based protein at 80% net nitrogen utilization is the same as 60 grams of whey protein at 20%. So don't be fooling and think, oh, 50 grams of whey protein. You know, you're getting, if you're putting 50 grams of whey protein there, 40 grams of it's toxic on your body. And these things, anybody drink those things, Ensure or Slim Fast? All that is a little bit of sugar and some whey protein. There's no nutrition in that. A meal should be fruits and vegetables. Yes, in our meal shake here, we have fruits and vegetables in there. This is exactly what your kids need to be taking after they exercise. It has 2 sources of essential fats in it. It has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber in it. It has aloe to increase absorption. So this is what a meal shake should be. It should be a real meal. When do you use this? This should be the product you take after exercise. So every day you start your day with Start, and after any exercise session, you make the meal shake here. Greg earlier made this with ice. What's your magic mixture? Don't put the banana in, just do the rest of it. Almond milk.
Ice, almond milk.
And a few chocolate chips.
A few chocolate chips and 3 little sections of frozen banana.
Right. Right, but you can do it without the...
Yeah, you can do
I'd make it without the banana.
Yeah.
You'd swear you were driving through Starbucks and getting a Frappuccino. I mean, it was really good. That's what I make every day now. Or you can just shake it up by itself. Or you can mix it with peanut butter. You know, this is what my daughter, she's 16 years old. She takes this. My fiance drinks that. I make it every day since you taught me with the almond milk and chocolate chips. So this is the way you should treat your body. Because now you got this scientific breakthrough in exercise. Put the right stuff in your body. So a travel meal, no time for a healthy meal, lose weight meal, or just a great meal after you exercise. So we have actually 4 fitness nutrition products. Those are the 2 I wanted to focus on today. So this lifestyle now allows people to lose weight, get in shape, tighten and tone, build muscle, perform better. That's a 3-time Olympian. This is a young guy, 19, 20 years old, out of Dayton, Ohio. He put 20 pounds of muscle on in 3 months, blew right by all the guys in the gym. So now in these short workouts, we can get incredible results. So now let's take our get back in shape results and all this performance hats off for a second, and let's look at this market. Here's what I can tell you. Right now, we are the leader in BFR right now. We're selling more bands than anybody, and that's our goal, to introduce blood flow restriction training to everybody across the United States. But if I was to fold up tent here and we were to go away, blood flow restriction training is coming, and it is coming fast. There's copycats coming out every day. Most doctors now will say, oh yeah, I'm starting to hear about that. Or a doctor say, I just went to a symposium, and they were talking about blood flow restriction training. You get on our Instagram channel. I've got 2 celebrities on there wearing these bands. Mark Wahlberg and Nick Cannon are on our Instagram channel. Now, Nick doesn't know he was being filmed, but somebody was filming him, and he was working out with the B3 bands. So when we look at this market, this is an absolutely massive trend that's coming. And look, this isn't Billy Blanks and Tybo. This isn't Richard Simmons, okay? This isn't P90X. This isn't some fad. This is a scientific change in exercise that's absolutely changing how people exercise, and it's not going to go away. 5 years from now, everybody is going to know about BFR, which presents us with a very exciting opportunity to be the first out there sharing this with